Hello, my name's James Brown, and I'm an agricultural business consultant in the Brown&Co Banbury office. And I'm sat here today with Tim Humphrey, a partner in the Banbury office, who works in our commercial department. Tim, we've seen a great deal of development out there in the local landscape, particularly with residential development. Is the same activity taking place within the commercial market space?
Yes, in short, it is. There's been a huge movement to industrial and commercial development to try and kickstart the wider economy, pushed forward by central government, going back some years now. So we have all seen big industrial developments taking place on the edge of motorways or the edge of the towns and cities with big B8 industrial distribution sheds. But there's only so much of that can be pushed forward. And I think we are seeing increased opportunities at the moment for smaller development schemes on the edge of our urban centres, not necessarily towns and cities, but your villages or market towns, and also along key road infrastructure networks or even indeed rail networks. So there are opportunities there if you've got land in the right places, yes.
And there's been a few points there you've mentioned, particularly around close to motorways or in the right place. I take it location is key for such development.
Absolutely, it is. And the way to identify the opportunity really comes in sort of two main ways. Firstly, you may already have land that is allocated within the local plan system as employment designated land, which can be brought forward relatively straightforwardly. Alternatively, is identifying land, whether it be really on the edge of the urban environment, whether that be the town or the city, that has existing infrastructure route to it, or what we're seeing more often at the moment is land that is well located on main road infrastructure routes, so it's got good transport links and easy access from a junction or roundabout or whatever it may be, that can open up land easily without generating huge traffic movements off site in terms of more rural locations. So having that road frontage and visibility is going to be important. That doesn't necessarily mean it won't happen, but it is something that would be a key consideration, absolutely.
And if I thought I had a client with that type of land, or how would the client go about obviously promoting that land?
So it is possible to promote land privately and do it off your own back through the local plan system. In order to get the planning permission in the first place, the parcel of land will need to be either identified within the local plan as an allocated site, or it needs to be promoted through the local plan system to get to that stage. And the latter will take a considerable period of time, and there'll be other landowners who will do the same, no doubt. So it's key then that the land is promoted in the right manner, and to do that costs money, and we're talking quite substantial sums of money. Many landowners, whilst may have the resources to do that, may not necessarily want to risk that money doing it themselves, and that's where promoters and developers come into play, because they will do that at their cost and their risk, and then be rewarded for it at the point that the planning permission is granted and the land is either developed or sold.
And if a promoter comes forward and is interested in the site, would you recommend talking directly with the promoter, or should a client get an agent involved to help them understand the agreement and what is being offered on the table?
Well, I would always recommend seeking independent advice, expert advice, because land promotion and development is extremely complicated. It may seem simple on the outset, but in reality, you've got to deal with Section 1(6) agreements, planning agreements, it might be cooperation agreements with other landowners, infrastructure agreements, etc. So it's very complicated, and it's quite easy to inadvertently make a mistake in terms of incurring additional costs where you don't need to. So I would say it's imperative and vital to have an independent expert acting solely on behalf of the landowner to maintain their interests.
Okay, and if you thought actually this is something we want to pursue further, you've talked about obviously the local development plan. Again, is that something that you could do yourself, or should you get an agent to help do that, or work alongside a promoter to explore that opportunity?
the way to really move forward is that either the landowner or their advisors have identified a parcel of land that they think might be suitable for non-residential development, should we call it, so commercial development. In that case, that can be brought forward to the attention of a developer or promoter, or through someone like myself who can help them find the appropriate promoter and developer to work in partnership with that landowner. The other way is that a promoter or developer, as you already said, James, will have identified the land and try and come straight forward to the landowner and identify it that way. So there's sort of two ways that it can be brought forward. But in reality, it really needs a promoter or developer to push forward some land, strategic land, because that is time consuming and very expensive to do. So really, that's the most common way of going about it.
Okay, I'm getting the vibe that obviously it's quite expensive if you were to pursue it yourself, and therefore looking at things with in conjunction with other parties may be the right course of action. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would, absolutely. And the difference between a lot of residential schemes and the commercial schemes or industrial schemes is that the land size tends to be a lot bigger. So your land holding will be more or less, or more often than not, sorry, will be on larger schemes than the residential schemes. So industrial development schemes, on the very nature of sheds, take up more space. Therefore, that means more land, which therefore means more infrastructure and therefore more cost, very rudimentarily. So yeah, that would definitely be the way I would go with it.
Okay, so to me it sounds like there's a number of stages that you've got to go through when considering your land for potential commercial development, and that probably it will take a considerable amount of time.
Yeah, if it's not allocated, bringing the land forward through development will take a considerable period of time, and much the same as residential development land. It really needs a team of experts working to bring that forward, and we certainly do that for a number of clients, and we would help additional clients going forward. So I'd advise any clients you may have or people you know who have potential in commercial strategic development land to contact one of us, and we can help them bring that forward.
Okay, thank you, Tim.